ontogeny.
Spared no expense.
Ontogeny.
All right, ready?
I'm ready. You can put up with us.
All right, looks like we're on. We'll wait for confirmation from the chat if they can see or hear us. Let's see here.
Sends out an alert when you're on, because I know I get the alerts. You know.
Yeah.
I got them pretty late though. I have to admit. You've been on an hour or so before I get an alert, it seems.
Beautiful. All right, we're on. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Paleontologizing. Welcome to the early Cretaceous Cedar Mountain Formation. Sitting here with Utah State paleontologist Jim Kirkland, and we're on a little day excursion out to a different part of the Cedar Mountain Formation today. We're at the Mustn't Touch It member, kind of up at the top of the Cedar Mountain.
Yeah, we're sitting on the Natarita,
Yeah.
which is pretty much middle Cenomanian in age, about 94, 95 million years old.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mustn't Touch It really isn't early Cretaceous. It's the base,
like the middle.
the dawn of the Upper Cretaceous.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it really is the beginnings of the Upper Cretaceous, and this fauna is unique and critically important in North America because it defines the beginnings of our classic Upper Cretaceous faunas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is where we've had the first immigrants from Asia coming in. There's no immigrants from Asia till we hit the Mustn't Touch It.
Uh-huh.
And that's the base of the Cenomanian, the first stage of the Upper Cretaceous.
So that's where you get dinosaurs coming in, like, what, your Oviraptorosaurs and stuff like that?
And Eolambia. Its closest relative is Probacterosaurus from Asia.
It's a big, like, hadrosaur
form
kind of critter, yeah.
But it does have a thumb spike. It's
Interesting.
not a big pointed one. It's kind of more spatulate, but it's got a thumb spike.
So a duck-billed dinosaur with a thumb spike.
It's not really duck-billed either.
It's on the way there,
It's a hadrosaur. There's a whole radiation of those things that we... You know, Eolambia is one of the first ones ever described, the first one in North America. But there's going to be bunches of them down the line. It's you know, we're just making discovery after discovery after discovery. I wish I had 50 to 100 more years to see what happens.
We'll see, Jim.
We'll see. Put my brain, you know, in a bubble. You know, take me out here like Futurama. Look at this. Look at these new things. Oh, yes. Great fossil. I predicted that.
So let's take it back to like 1989 or something like that. What did people think of the Cedar Mountain Formation back then?
Well, most people didn't think anything of the Cedar Mountain Formation.
Right.
Basically, most of the papers on this area were about fossil plants.
Huh.
And they thought it was all early Cretaceous. They thought it was
Right.
Albian, age, not Cenomanian.
So like equivalent to like Cloverleaf Formation or something
yeah,
like
a little younger than about Cloverleaf age. Back then, close as they had. I mean, Ostrom didn't know where the Cloverleaf fit into the scheme of things.
Sure, yeah.
But they were planting the oldest example of this angiosperm wood. The oldest example of this angiosperm wood. I mean, it was like unique things, plants.
Yeah.
And dinosaur Jim Jensen got called in by Tidwell, the paleobotanist that worked in here with his students, and he had found some dinosaur eggshell. So they described some dinosaur eggshell from here, well back in the 80s from here. But they really didn't describe much in the way of, dinosaur bones or anything from here. People weren't looking, at this stuff. So it was, pretty much just, unstudied. And, look behind us.
Yeah.
The quote I give people
Look at that.
is when I took Angela Milner and Dave Norman here in 1998 on a field trip, the first big field trip into this region. Basically, Angela Milner, the Natural History Museum of London, former British Museum.
She worked on baryonyx.
And a number of other things, but she was the dinosaur queen of that museum. And Dave Norman, Mr. Iguanodon, a good friend of mine. And they looked out over this, and Angela Jim, there's more early Cretaceous in front of me here than all of Britain. And that was a pretty cool line, for her to say.
It really stuck with you. That's awesome.
Just standing here with those two, they're like, "Holy cow, this is amazing."
Let me just do a quick little panorama with the camera.
This is a unique place. I want to see this become a national park unit.
Yeah, holy cow!
I really, really do. Even though I keep talking dawn of the Cretaceous when we're in the Yellow Cat area, we can say dawn of the Upper Cretaceous for this area. But it would be one of the bigger units because there are over 100 taxa, fishes, lizards, amphibians, early snakes, 22 species of mammal.
Jeez.
Are known from here. Dozens of dinosaurs, bird teeth of at least 2 different kinds. Are known from here. And there's probably a lot of the birds probably didn't have teeth.
Sure, yeah. So there'd be no dental record for them.
But based on teeth and bones, we have ornithomimids. They don't have teeth at this level, apparently. The oviraptors don't have teeth.
Right.
Basically, we got over 100 taxa. That makes this one of the most diverse Mesozoic faunas in all of North America.
Right.
And you're looking at it. This is a unique place that needs to be preserved, but not put a fence. It needs to be studied. There's so much more to be discovered here. There are new animals that I know about that are being described.
We just had a new one this summer. I mean,
there was one named like a few days ago.
Oh, there was another one?
Well,
Fauna.
Was named. That was a few days. Fauna.
Yeah.
So it was only a few days ago.
Yeah, we covered that. Was home, like last week, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it wasn't long.
Yeah.
And they have something like 7 skeletons.
I think they have more, Yeah,
it's an impressive ornithopod. Fills a really important role in understanding, how these things go, as does Eolambia from these areas and some of these things in the underlying rocks. This upper stuff, the mustn't touch it. As I said, it's Cenomanian, but you go back down that canyon, there's a giant Eolambia quarry, and just below it there's a gravelly layer, some sands with dinosaur tracks in it, and below that's Albion. That's the transition zone of the Ruby Ranch. And there's a big Albion sequence here.
Yeah.
But when these animals lived here, both the Upper Ruby Ranch animals and the Albion, Cenomanian, using stable oxygen isotopes in the dinosaur teeth, we can show there was snow in the high mountains.
That's so cool.
And the severe mountains from this point were certainly no more than like 100 miles to the west. So you had a huge snow-capped mountain range,
right,
100 miles to the west of us here.
Yeah.
And every spring, it sent this flood of light oxygen in the water that these animals would drink, and the isotopes incorporated into the enamel of their teeth, so we can sample it today.
That's
and
pretty neat.
Look at the annual changes in oxygen isotopes with a spring runoff.
So you can, by looking at dinosaur teeth, you can determine where the mountain ranges were in a given area. That's
well, we got the thrust, we got the physical, mountains, but we can tell when the snow was first.
That's pretty neat.
The first snows.
Yeah.
And looking at the soils, that big calcrete we saw this morning. That's the beginning of the rain shadow.
Right. Yeah.
So we know that. At the base of Valentinian, about 137 million, 135, is when these mountains started getting high enough out there to cause a rain shadow to the east. And that's the first evidence we see of that, which is real exciting. But we made a big discovery today on our way out here. We found dinosaur bones at the base of the Cedar Mountain.
Yep.
In rocks equivalent, pretty much, maybe slightly older, to the rocks we're digging at Dolling's Bowl. And that's way over here on this side of the San Rafael Swell. And on the west side of the big, giant Buckhorn River system, where we're on the east side of that big river system, we found some dinosaur stuff in the floodplain on the west side over here. First time. Yeah. That's the first dinosaur stuff ever found in those rocks.
That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just
and it was a fluke. We just stopped the vehicle and we're looking around and shoot, there it is. Fisher picked up this big bone. He's like,
it was like, that's a sauropod rib.
Yeah. Nothing else it could be, unless it's like
they go up the hill and they got this chunk of vertebra, very pneumatic, and it's like, well, that's not a turriosaur. It's got to be some kind of titanosaur form, brachiosaur form, up there, and probably an undescribed taxa, almost certainly. But it's not a turriosaur. It's not Mirasaurus. And that's cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah. I mean, you could do a whole poster just on that vert right now. I mean, given the stratigraphy. And the whole story. That's a short paper. But hopefully we'll get more and make a bigger paper.
Shoot. Do you suspect that's going to be public land over there behind that fence?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
No, it is. It's public land. I mean, we get a permit. The highway department loves us,
Nice.
So in terms of getting, because the dinosaurs in the right of way. That highway. And, we can definitely get permits to do it. I think the Prehistoric Museum just up the road to the north of us should be in charge of that.
Shoot. Well, if Josh wants to dig it this fall, I'll be out there. That would be really cool.
The highway cut, doing it. Look at the semi trucks. But that, John Foster's got Morrison sites that have highways going right through either side of his site. They just blew the highway right through a dinosaur site.
Oh, man.
This is the way it is. But I'm excited. I mean, like, that is the first animal on the west side of the Buckhorn River system. At the base of the Cretaceous. That is an exciting find. But this, the Mustn't Touch It Badlands, is extraordinary. It truly is. It's being, started by Rich Cefeli, University of Oklahoma, in terms of vertebrate paleo. And, he knew enough about what he had read in the literature to come out here. And he was interested in finding mammals. So they went out here and they had a big screen washing operation. We drove right past to where they were set up. And they'd pump water out of this big drainage. Or they'd dig holes so the puddles would form. And they'd pump the water up into their cattle tanks. And they figure over almost 2 decades, they washed over 80 tons of productive microvertebrate stuff here.
Wow.
And in the end, 22 mammal taxa.
22 new species
I mean, how many taxa of mammal are in the Hell Creek?
Oh, shoot. I think it's fewer than a dozen.
I think it's more than that, but still,
Okay.
But 22 taxa is incredible. It includes archaic taxa and early examples of taxa that become dominant later. It's a really important area. We're catching the first Asian immigration event. We're catching the extinction of dinosaurs that were endemic to North America while it was an island continent in the Aptian Albion. And all of a sudden, all these Asian animals came over, and things like what happened when we connect to South America.
We got a question about that, shoot, let me pull that up. Dr. Terminator asks, question about the fauna. The prior fauna looks like very cloverly animals, Acrocanthosaurus, Sauroposeidon. Which animals migrated from Asia to North America? And which animals disappear when the Asian fauna invaded?
Yeah. Yeah, we're learning. Eolambia, the dominant animal in this fauna, came from Asia.
Huh.
Eolambia's closest relative. In fact, when Dave Norman at our conference, the week after we were here, talked about Probacterosaurus from Asia.
Yeah.
He's showing pictures, and it's like, that thing is really similar to Eolambia. I was trying to go, oh man, Eolambia may really be Probacterosaurus.
That would be actually really cool.
Yeah, I mean, but it's that close.
Uh-huh.
It's really close, and its ancestors are not out of the cloverleaf fauna here.
Uh-huh.
They crossed the land bridge from Asia. And that was the beginning. I always like to joke that the Cedar Mountain Formation shows us the origins of Alaska. And here in Utah, and we've got it dated, when the first animals are coming over. And we still have holdovers in cloverleaf. Seat's is largely, a Carcharodontosaur, big holdover, from that older fauna. It's the last of its kind that we have record of.
Yeah.
Moros, which is more of a full-blooded tyrannosaurid, probably came in from Asia. We have teeth of pachycephalosaurs here.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just teeth, but they're pretty diagnostic.
Okay.
And we're waiting for whatever that animal looks like.
But
not
a good skeleton of it.
Very likely came in from Asia.
Yeah.
One of the things that's really nice, of course, going back to Jensen's eggshells, and an eggshell site you've been to, over there that went to the MTE field trip.
Yeah.
We got all this big eggshell. That was, Jensen named it something. Later, Ken Carpenter and Darla Zielinski re-looked at it and renamed the material Mega Elongulithus.
Yeah.
And then Greg Paul, in one of his early books on dinosaurs, Princeton books, he predicted, since this was big eggshell like you get with Gigantoraptor in Asia, that we were going to find a giant ovoraptor here. And a few years ago, Pete Makovicki found the giant ovoraptor. And they're getting ready to name it. I mean, and it's as big as Gigantoraptor.
Oh, so they have that from here, and
from the Mustn't Touch It.
All right.
They got skeleton.
Get ready for a giant Oviraptorosaur
from the Mustn't Touch It.
That's super exciting. Jim.
And it's older, and it probably went to Asia.
Oh, so you think the group originated in North America?
Koenig Nathans are a North American group.
Yeah, and then they would...
Yeah, Oviraptors never made it here, but Gigantoraptor is a Koenig Nathan. I think it's the only Koenig Nathan known in Asia.
Interesting.
That's
this is like a T-Rex-sized Oviraptorosaur that we're talking about.
Allosaur, 30-footer.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Well, it's taller than T-Rex.
Yeah,
at least,
it's a very tall
that's
animal. Yeah. No teeth. And eggs like football. Eggs are like this big.
Yeah.
And then just the last few years, and have been announced, these have been published, and they've done posters on the gigantic Oviraptor from here, so it's not like on news.
Yeah, we've been hearing about this for years and years, but having the thing actually described is going to be really cool. Yeah.
But Lindsay Zano, just back there in the distance at the edge of Last Chance Canyon, they have found 2 Gigantoraptor nests. With pairs of these eggs.
Oh boy!
And if you go to Raleigh, North Carolina, in their lab, you can see them on exhibit.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping someday we can get, laser scan. We can rapid prototype some that we can exhibit. Here.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Because these are some of the most exciting nests.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize there were dinosaur nests from the Lake Cretaceous, the North Horn, that had been described earlier by Jensen. And they're at BYU.
Yeah.
So there's but they're round eggs. They might be sauropod eggs. Maybe they're hadrosaur, but they don't have much in the way of hadrosaur skeletons in those rocks. But they strike me more like they're hadrosaur eggs. But we need the egg people looking at that stuff. Certainly not me. But so those eggs, I was telling people these were the oldest dinosaur nests in Utah.
It turns out
they're not.
The North Horn,
but they're really impressive. First theropod. Nests.
Yeah.
And they're from a very big theropod.
Very cool. Well, once those files become available, like if they send you some 3D scans of those, let me know and I'll print them for you and I'll ship them to.
It'll be a while.
Okay.
And it's like we're begging them to do that.
Right. I see what you mean.
Yeah. Personally, I'd like to print them life size. I'd like to have a replica.
Oh, I can do that.
Part of one of these nests.
I could do that.
Yeah. Because I think that would be, something should be exhibited in Utah. But I have no problem with Lindsay Zano and the North Carolina team working out here.
Yeah.
Or Pete Makovicki, the Field Museum team. They're great paleontologists. They're doing excellent work. There's only a few of us here in Utah.
Yeah.
This is, I want to see the science. I'm excited by the things I'm learning about what they're discovering. I mean, I helped, name the first dinosaurs from these rocks.
Yeah.
But, I had so much work going on with the faunas lower down in the Cedar Mountain. Mm-hmm. Plenty to do. You can't do everything. Yeah. And if you try to be greedy, you're hurting our science. You're not helping it. Yeah. So, brought Pete out here in 2007 for a Geologic Society of America meeting, Rocky Mountain GSA meeting, field trip that was in St. George, and brought him up here. And Pete Makovicki's out walking here with me and picking up bone, just beautiful. I mean, bone, he was so beautiful. Yeah. He's like, Jim, I'm starting a project here, Jim. Okay, totally. That's one reason I'm happy you're here. This is why I'm walking with you hand in hand here. I mean, it's not to keep you away from sites, Yeah. I'm trying to sell it to you.
Yeah. No, that's not to be tooting your horn too much, Jim, but like, how much Cedar Mountain work is a direct result of you being out here and bringing other people in and really kind of cheerleading for people to study the Cedar Mountain?
There's no question, because first one doing dinosaurs, Utah Raptor, basically, there's a good fishing hole, people, Carpenter, dive it in. We're going to prospect the entire Cedar Mountain outcrop belt in 5 years.
There's a lot more than that.
That's a little overly ambitious. We got most of our good sites over there in his footsteps. Sorry, Ken, but it's true. I mean, there's so much, and the bone over there is so subtle. That sometimes it's barely a stain, and once you start digging, we got massive bone beds. You just keep digging and keep finding, and find beautiful stuff.
But there might be hardly anything on the surface.
It comes to the surface, it goes to powder. So it's not like you find chunks of bone in most sites. You're finding a little discoloration. Sure. So it's very subtle, and we find sites that we've walked over dozens of times, and all of a sudden, there's bone here. Yeah. And I've been walking on it the whole time.
Oops.
Bye-bye.
Sorry about that, chat. Got a gust of wind. Blew the camera over. Let's put a rock on this.
Take a little bit of...
Here, we'll go like that.
I guess little slabs. Keep that.
Yeah.
Lined up.
Let's see. Some of these. That should do it. We didn't scratch the lens up too bad. Yeah.
How's it look, folks?
Yeah, let me know. Let me look at... That's looking pretty good.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Yeah, shoot. I think maybe another thing, some people who are maybe not too familiar with this subject might be a little bit confused about your Alaska remark. Like, the Cedar Mountain Formation down here in Utah helps us learn when Alaska formed.
Sure.
What do you mean by
There's
that?
data up in Alaska. A buddy of mine working on the marine faunas in the North Pacific and the Arctic Ocean was able to show once you get to the end of the Albion, instead of having a continuous molluscan fauna between the North Pacific and the Arctic, all of a sudden they differentiate. At the end of the Albion. So he was coming up with that information in the marine realm. Yeah. And we come up with it based on dinosaurs. Right. They're walking over here across the land bridge.
Yeah, so Alaska is basically forming a land bridge between North America and Asia.
Basically an ancestral Brooks Range.
Okay.
And it was, a major mountain range right over the North Pole across. Yeah. That's one reason I always tell people the North Slope isn't the closest place to China. It's actually Grand Staircase. Because you couldn't have crossed the Brooks Range to the North Slope. It would have been on the Arctic, right on the pole, multi-mile high, continental collision range. Okay. Big mountain range at the pole.
Too rugged for dinosaurs to walk across.
Too much. It would have been an ice cap on it.
Okay.
No question. There would have been an ice cap on that thing. So the dinosaurs, I'm sure, came along the western coast. Yeah. And then somewhere, you always say Vegas, it's when they came into the western interior.
So they kind of got to go down the California coast and
then hook around in.
Hook around, because there's a mountain range in between Utah and California at the time.
So when we look at some of these groups, like the ankylosaurs and even the tyrannosaurs, it looks like the closest relatives to the things in China are actually down the San Juan Basin, Grand Staircase, the ankylosaurs particularly.
So southern Utah.
Yeah, the euplocephalines Ankylosaurus, those things are really a derived group. They're very different than the Asian ankylosaurs. And it's probably that they had this endemic center up there in Alberta, North Montana. Much to learn. I mean, these are the things I'm just throwing out because we have so much new things that we found down here that just trying to put it into a reasonable context that makes sense.
Yeah.
We got to change a lot of our views of the world. And even the cloverleaf said, well, we got a microvenator here that's oviraptorid. It's got to be connected to Asia. No, it isn't. It's probably coming through Europe. Yeah, almost certainly.
So that's not a Cainignathine. That's
it's a Cainignathine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it is.
Yeah.
But but then it was like they weren't splitting them that much.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Back when Ostrom was working in the first
like
revisions of that group, and it's got lower jaws, they're completely toothless. It's just it's a pretty cool ant, but it's a Cainignathine, not an oviraptor. And they probably went right across through Europe. And so there's probably a number of things that are going to be discovered in Europe that'll help show us how this connection happened. There were dinosaurs in the lower Cedar Mountain. Got to come in from Europe. There's no connection to Asia at the base of the Cretaceous, and we have like now 4 species or genera of Therizinosaur in the yellow cat. They're in stratigraphic succession.
That's so exciting.
But, it's like the age of Therizinosaurs, Victoriosaur. I mean, it's such a unique fauna at that bottom stuff, that dawn of the Cretaceous. That we got to just get our head around what's going on, and we'll be arguing with each other for a while on this stuff, which is what moves the science forward.
Sure. Yeah.
If we all agreed, there'd be nothing to do. I got to prove this person's an idiot. That's your job. If you kind of want to come up in paleo, just prove that Kirkland's an idiot. That's how science works. Falsifiability. If I'm not doing science and promoting things that can be falsified by new data,
then it's not science.
It's not science.
Yeah.
And and that's part of the fun and the challenge. Collecting, why collecting new marbles, new dinosaurs? Why do they matter? But they're telling us how the continents were working. When there was snow coming. There's so many collateral, areas of science that spin off of this that people generally don't think about.
Yeah. Well, shoot, the time is flying. We're like halfway done already because we're going to end around 4, right? So yeah. Shoot, if anybody's just joining us, welcome to Paleontologizing. I'm here with Utah State paleontologist Jim Kirkland out here in the Cedar Mountain Formation. This is the very top of the Cedar Mountain Formation.
We're sitting above the Cedar Mountain Formation, right? On these rocks.
This is the Natarita, I guess, and so we're working, for the past week, we've been working in the lower part of the lower yellow cat.
Yeah, we're at the base. We're within meters of the Morrison.
So like the very, very beginning of the Cretaceous period, like 142 million years ago,
at least.
Something like that?
Down.
At least.
Yeah, near the base.
Wow.
Some people, but at 142 I'm pretty happy with a round number for that.
So definitely Berriasian down there.
And this is about 98. So you're about 45 million years older than where we're sitting right now in this fauna.
So we drove a couple hours to get here, and we've moved up in time.
And this
45 million years.
Where that stuff is only really in Grand County, Utah, because of salt tectonics.
Yeah.
This is the deepest part of the foredeep where there's good exposure. You got it in the forest too. It doesn't help us much if it's very deep.
Sure.
And this is the only place we get this, the base of the upper Cretaceous with rich faunas. So it's restricted to Emery County, Utah. So you have 2 counties that have multiple dinosaur faunas, nowhere else. This fauna is actually, there's a little bit of this in western Montana.
Really?
Yeah, the Rectodromia stuff.
Oh yeah, the Wyan and the blackleaf. Yeah.
And the blackleaf up there.
Yeah.
But is it exactly the same age? But it does have a tie. This is the deep foredeep, way over here.
Okay.
And they've got it there. They're finding it in Idaho. LJ's stuff.
Yeah. Friend of the channel, LJ Krumanacker.
State dinosaur of Idaho.
Arictodromus.
Is from probably this level in Idaho.
Interesting.
And we've got it down in Valley of Fire in Nevada.
With the Nevada-dromius.
Yeah. You know what's going on. Are they all the exact same? But this is that interval.
Right.
As the mountains were pushing this part of the world down, and sediment accumulated here. At this time, it's erosional over there.
So you get a gap over the record
there.
over there, yeah.
Yeah, Cedar Mountain is, it's this little skiff of rock.
Yeah.
But it's, the sequence here overlaps only in the lower Ruby Ranch here, correlates with the Ruby Ranch over there.
So that's
otherwise, and we just today,
yeah.
I say we have this little yellow cat skiff.
Yeah.
Found dinosaurs, and now we need to figure out what the age of that is.
Yeah.
That just is opening another door.
Yeah.
And no one
potentially be another fun.
No one has looked at that level over here.
That is so exciting. Holy cow.
Yeah, we just did that today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
that was just a quick little detour on our trip today.
That is super cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how this has been my entire 30-year career working out here.
Always something new. It's just...
Man, it's like every other day we feel like we're discovering a new continent. I mean, it's the hottest thing in North America. I'm sorry, Montana. This is the hottest game in town.
It's pretty awesome. It is pretty awesome. Yeah.
Dawn of the Cretaceous National Fossil Beds.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to die before it happens, but damn.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
We're gonna make this reality.
This should happen. Just the honey holes, not take eastern Utah.
Yeah.
Is the national. No, we want that.
Just the fossil-rich spots.
Set it up. Research. Look up Google John Day fossil beds in Oregon. There's 4 units, and we're thinking 4 units here, widely dispersed over all of eastern Oregon. They work out of a little, there was initially a private research facility by this paleontologist Condon. It's called the Condon Center. That's, where the museum is there and whatnot, but it's pretty much in the forest where the museum is. Mm-hmm. And we're thinking maybe Price, Utah, the prehistoric museum there being the scientific center of this
kind of the
thing.
flagship institution.
And these
for that,
would be the units.
Yeah.
I
like
tied to it. And basically they have almost the entire age of mammals recorded in eastern Oregon for the whole Pacific Northwest, the best sequence on the planet.
Yeah.
Within those 4 units.
Yeah.
You put them all together. This is what we got here for the entire early Cretaceous. And we have Jurassic under us. I mean, the Morrison's under us, and it's always loaded with Jurassic dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. So we have a unique story that, the lowest Cretaceous, unique to Grant County, nowhere else in North America. You'll never find Utah raptor outside of Grant County, Utah.
Right.
And Eolambia, you probably never... Well, Eolambia you might find in Nevada and up there someday.
That would be really cool.
But most of this is pretty much like this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is different than Wayans in Idaho.
Yeah, for sure.
We have this amazing outcrop of this stuff marking the beginning of the Upper Cretaceous.
Huh.
They're chasing a ceratopsian skeleton in here. Right now, it's... I can't wait to learn about it.
Yeah, that is
I
super
reported
exciting.
on the first ceratopsian teeth from out here.
Is it a leptoceratopsid or something like Zuniceratops?
They're not talking.
Keeping those cards pretty close to their chest, huh?
The teeth are pretty big, but they're very proto-like teeth.
Interesting.
But we described a couple of teeth from here. Huh. There's also a couple of ceratopsian teeth from the Arundel.
Yeah. In Maryland, right?
And then they've got a skull of a little bitty ceratopsian in the Cloverleaf.
Right. Is that Aquilops?
Aquilops.
Yeah.
So we know they're here before the connection with Asia. So it's like, okay, how, they're going to find them in Europe.
Yeah.
Guarantee it. There's no way they can't be there.
Speaking of this fauna and European faunas, we got another great question from Dr. Terminator. He said, they say earlier on stream you mentioned how cedar pelta and Pleuropleides get outcompeted. How does some of the biggest ankylosaurs get outcompeted so quickly from the invasion?
Well, do they, get out? We don't know much about ankylosaurs. Animantarx is in this fauna, which is a little notosaur.
Yeah.
Is it out competing them?
Uh-huh.
Are there big ones we haven't found yet? Mm-hmm. That are still out here?
Could it be that when the land bridge formed, that's changing the climate? And
these are notosaurs. They're still endemic. Ankylosaurids with tail clubs don't come in before the end of the Santonian or Campanian.
Okay.
And Asian ankylosaurs don't come in for millions of years later.
Yeah.
So there's nothing coming in that we know of that's directly competing with these animals.
Okay.
But the armored dinosaurs.
Yeah.
There may be, but we have zero record at this point of anybody doing that.
Sure.
Ankylosaurids, probably like the base of the Campanian, maybe the earliest point when you've got an ankylosaurid. That's an Asian group that invades.
Yeah.
Yes. a lot more to find up section too. The middle of the Cretaceous, the early part of the Upper Cretaceous. That barren stuff.
Yeah. There's going to be dinosaurs in there?
There's got to be dinosaurs in that stuff.
And that big deltaic environment?
And the San Antonio Strait Cliffs. Lindsay's got a dinosaur. She's got an ankylosaur on the Strait Cliffs now.
Huh.
I just heard that from, who was that, Lowen? Someone just the other day told me that. And
rumors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is that's exciting. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
We know there's stuff there. We got that, incredible bone bed series south of Tropic Utah that we can't access.
Uh-huh.
And that's Coniacian and Santonian bone beds.
Right.
But it's on Forest Service land, but there's a little private holding that has a locked gate. They won't let us through. They'll shoot us.
Yeah. We've been talking about that, yeah.
It's like, I wish I could get a conservation group just to buy it. It's a little chunk of land.
Yeah.
But they're very separationists. It's like, ooh, yeah. They don't like the rest of us.
I mean, but that's been a continuous theme for as long as I've known you, Jim, is just that there's so much out here to be done. There's so much to be worked on. And you could have, 100 times as many paleontologists as we currently have out here working, and there would still be more than anybody can handle.
The Upper Jurassic, the Morrison Formation, incredibly fossiliferous in this state.
Yeah.
There's at least 200 miles of outcrop, this exposed outcrop, that's never been walked on by a scientist. There's rock hounds, and the easy agate bone gets picked up and stolen and sold off and made into jewelry. But there's all this subtle stuff as well. And there's also mega sites. They've discovered recently sites that make Dinosaur National Monument look puny. The Hanksville Burpee Quarry.
Yeah.
I put 100 Dinosaur National Monuments next to each other, end to end. That's what that site is. Over 2 kilometers of bone bed just under the surface.
Yeah.
It's just that's the real Jurassic National Monument down there. But there is so much. Kids, don't think we've done it all because we haven't even scratched.
Not even
We're just scratching it.
Yeah.
Just we're opening up some new frontiers. But there's so much more to be discovered, and so many questions to be answered.
There's a phrase of yours that I repeat a lot, and it's that we are in the good old days right now. These are the good old days for dinosaur paleontology.
They absolutely are the good old days.
And it could get better and better if we just get more funding and have more people working out here.
And we need to bring the public into the fold. Yeah. Doing it legitimately.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here. Shoot.
I mean, it's, people say, oh, you don't want to fence this area off. The ATVers aren't going down there. This is way too rugged.
Yeah.
We got over 100 taxa we know are represented in here.
Yeah.
Skeletally, and they find whole frog skulls excavating some of these microsites. They found articulated snakes. It's not
So not scattered stuff like
they get scattered stuff too.
But they've got articulated stuff as well.
Little stuff as well.
That's awesome.
Oh no, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
How good this stuff can be. And for the area I'm working, it's who's coming in after me?
Right.
As it is, I'm only out there a few weeks a year.
Yeah.
And we know there are hordes of people coming out just to try to collect dinosaurs out of it.
Yeah.
And then they realize this stuff isn't easy. It just crumbles. You got to know what you're doing. It's, I want to protect it, but I want to continue the science. I don't want to put a fence around it.
Yeah.
That's why I want to make it a paleo park like John Day fossil beds or agate fossil beds. There's a number of these places that were set aside. Park Service has done this as paleo parks. Petrified Forest operates as a paleo park. There's other things there. There can be Native American, sites tied into these places as well.
Sure, yeah.
And beautiful vistas. So many of our national parks are based completely on the views.
Yeah. Monument Valley, stuff like that. Yeah.
You set up some trails in here. You can hike out. And, real solitude. It's like Dinosaur Provincial Park.
Yeah.
This really is like being on the rim, Dinosaur Provincial Park, the Red Deer Valley canyons cutting into the prairie.
Yeah.
There's so many similarities.
It almost looks like another planet. Out by Hanksville Burpee Quarry, there's the Mars people out there.
The Mars program. And that's, internationally funded.
Yeah.
The Canadian space program works with them, space programs all over the world.
Yeah. Because that landscape just looks superficially like the surface of Mars.
Jurassic Badlands, you know. It's just
so dinosaurs aren't the only draw for a place like this too. It's really special for a lot of other reasons.
No, I mean, we have a lot of smoke here today. It's normally not this hazy.
Yeah, there's like wildfires. We're not sure where they are right now, but
California, maybe some in Nevada.
Yeah, sorry about that. But I really wish it were a clearer day, because you can see for miles and miles and miles. It's just a gorgeous vista here, and it's all shrouded in smoke right now. But hopefully you're getting some sense of the majesty of this landscape, because it's pretty.
Yeah, our team is wandering around down in those and it's actually the cloud cover makes it pretty decent. Yeah. But the time to prospect and do this kind of work is generally October, November. Yeah. You know, or April. Yeah. You know, it doesn't get a lot of snow. You get more snow here than you do our yellow cat. You know, you see there's bigger plants.
Yeah. You get more precipitation.
We're right at the edge of the juniper level. Yeah. Yeah, I see some pretty scrawny junipers here and there.
Shoot, but speaking about that, if you've got anything going on in October, November, give me a call. I'll be out there. Yeah, you know,
'cause a lot of that's prospecting. We're gonna do the section there at Green River Cutoff Road.
Oh yeah,
and there is a dinosaur up in the upper ledge that I want Josh to get on.
Nice.
You know, play with that. But I want to describe that section because it's a perfect intermediate section between the paradox style stuff and this western San Rafael swell stuff. Yeah. You know, it overlaps. You have poison strip sitting on buckhorn. So, you know, this is the interface right there. And you got a road going right through the section. Yep. So people can go visit it and make their own minds up about our interpretations. Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's a good place to do it, and it's, you know, the Green River Cutoff Road's a great road to drive. You know, it's beautiful country. We got so much of this in Utah. You know, you figure, what do we now? Have we hit 4 million yet in Utah?
4 million people?
Million people?
I don't know.
Yeah, we're about there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
But almost everyone lives near Salt Lake City, Ogden, Brigham Young, and Provo. You know, that's 80. We're the most urban state in the nation.
Yeah. Oh, somebody's calling you.
That's probably. We want to sell you life insurance because you're an old fart.
Yeah. But anyway, if.
Yep, I just shut it off.
Great. Yeah.
I'll deal with it.
Now, Jim, you always say that you're a stratigrapher by trade.
I'm a biostratigrapher.
Biostratigrapher. Yeah. And I don't know.
I build the history. I put the story together
through the rocks.
As opposed to beautiful objects I put on shelves, and then I try to figure out where they fit into a tree.
No, it's it's the chronicle of life on Earth as told through the rock record. There are all of these geological terms, place names, things like that are just tumbling forth effortlessly from you. Could you maybe talk a little bit about why it's important for people in the general public to understand geology?
Oh,
and the perspective that it can give us, as human beings?
Well, we can actually, we have a history of life and of the planet, a history of climate. Let me get salt out of my eye or sunscreen. Yeah. But we have a history in this planet, where there's been dramatic climate change at times. Mm-hmm. We can see, what is the effect? I mean, experiments have been run. The reef ecosystem went extinct 4 times. Mm-hmm. It always took 5 to 10 million years to have new reefs afterward, these events.
Sure, yeah.
And, so it's like, if we kill off the reefs, our kids aren't going to get to see the reefs if we clean up our act. Yeah. Because it takes millions of years. It's not the evolution just of coral. It's all the symbioses, the interactions of very different animal groups that together form the ecosystem that is the reef environment. And that's not, it's not like, okay, we've destroyed the entire Caribbean reef ecosystem, we've baked it, and we're heating it up faster than things can spread north. Yeah. And that happened in the early Cretaceous. Yeah. At the early Cretaceous, and we're talking about an impact at the beginning. We're saying, we're looking at the rocks for the climate, and we got this real wet interval here, and what's going on? Well, if we look at the reef systems, then that's when there's a big turnover from coral reefs to rudisted reefs, clams.
Right, rudist reefs,
because it heated up so fast, these global anoxic events.
Just killed off all the corals.
That the corals didn't migrate. There's corals surviving, but they're like fringe group. Yeah. In the subtropics, if you look at the planet, but they're tropics, and they got a core of what they call supertropics, and those reefs are dominated by giant clams with symbiotic algae.
That we call rudists.
Yeah. That formed the clam. That's what the asteroid hit, was a rudisted reef system. And we see these experiments have been run on our planet, And it's like, we can tell you what happens when CO2 goes up.
Yeah.
You see these big volcanic systems and fertilizing the ocean, and, all of a sudden you get all this productivity of plankton and it starts settling the sea floor and it kills the deep ocean because it's, it's oxidizing as it goes down, rotting, and all of a sudden the whole deep ocean goes anoxic, goes belly up, which is why we'll never find a trilobite hiding in the deep sea.
Right.
Because the deep oceans went dead multiple times, mostly during the early Cretaceous.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, this is there's some major things happening in the early Cretaceous.
Yeah.
That I'm hoping, this is the terrestrial record. We've never had a terrestrial record like this before.
Uh-huh.
And, we're just, my, claim to fame is I've recognized that we have the record.
Yeah.
There's so much to do to study and understand the record. But for the first time, we can say we do have the record. Mm-hmm. And now we need to bring in various areas of expertise to experiment, to look, sample for, do geochemistry, whatever, to look at various lines of evidence of what's going on through these intervals. And we have a great oceanic, the ocean drilling program, we have beautiful records in the ocean.
Yeah.
What's happening. Now we got to link what's going on land and how does it fit. Mm-hmm. And we already started in some of this finding these anoxic events on land, which give a global signal. The White Cert event is preserved in the Upper Yellow Cat. That's a timeline that's global. So we've got this point that we can now tie all the way around the planet. Pole to pole, one side to the other, that give us these anchor points we've never had before. And this is also the period, once you get to the base of the Aptian, when you start the long normal. Mm-hmm. The Earth core mantle interface or inner outer core.
So the magnetic
way it was spinning, all of a sudden the magnetic field became super stable and didn't flip for 20 million years. And it's also tied to all this mountain building and these anoxic events and is it all interlocked? And similar stuff happened in the Ordovician. But we don't have an ocean record for that because it all got subducted. This is the time when really the only time we can study one of these events, when the core, system became very stable. And, I always guess it was spinning like a top, it was just really stable. And the poles were strong, the Van Allen belts were keeping radiation out probably better than they do now, where it wobbles.
So
but does it? That's my guess. Does it?
Yeah. 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 Really?
Yeah. No, you put it together, it's just like, I know what we're sitting on here, and it just drives me nuts. It's like we've got this, these are little spots that have this record that are unique in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
They don't have that record in China. They've got some of that record in Europe, but it's sketchy.
Yeah.
The lowest stuff.
So this is essentially the best place in the world to study the early Cretaceous in a terrestrial environment.
So, and we didn't even know it existed a few years ago.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been such a huge part of making.
I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, I stepped into this and I knew enough to realize what I had. Just go, hey, folks. And of course, no, Jim. The Wyoming, Montana folks.
Yeah.
No way, Jim, this stuff is this good. No way. No way. We can't believe, it's like, okay. We believe you. That book they're doing at Cedar Mountain, Dave Norman wrote the intro.
Nice.
It's like, the Europeans and the Chinese appreciate what we got more than people in America do. That is for certain. The Chinese Geologic Survey has been overlooking at this stuff with me twice.
Nice.
The Natural History Museum of London and Birmingham, University of Birmingham. Yeah. They're doing a field course out here for 2 weeks this fall in the Cedar Mountain.
Yeah.
This is becoming the place that other people are realizing we've got to go here. And that I'm excited. I want to see that.
Right.
I'm not afraid of people coming in. That would make we're going to learn.
Now, we'll probably have to wrap this up pretty soon, I think. But
they're still down the hill.
They are. They're.
Yeah, I know.
They found something good.
I'm sure there's so much down there.
Oh, yeah.
They're going nuts. And I told them, don't pick anything up. This is Lindsay's turf.
Right. And we want to be respectful of Lindsay's and her crew.
Take pictures. Get GPS things. Send her data. Say, Lindsay, you might want to look at this.
Yeah.
Or Pete, there's so much down there.
Right.
And every rain, something new.
So I want to ask you a kind of... Oh, and there's people up by the vehicle. I think I see Karen up there.
Good.
So maybe they're getting ready to go. But I'll kind of ask you a two-part question where the parts kind of intertwine. Can you tell us about your path to becoming a paleontologist, and maybe kind of intersperse that with advice for aspiring paleontologists who might be watching either live or later on in the VOD or on YouTube?
Yeah, well, my life was ruined in 1959 when my dad brought home the Mark set of toy dinosaurs, the Big 8.
Yeah.
T-Rex, Allosaurus, Stegosaurus, Triceratops,
Brontosaurus,
Trachodon.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Dimetrodon.
Yeah, and Dimetrodon, yes. In the pack, the Big 8.
Yeah.
And immediately I was ruined. And I was the little kid that you're walking down the street and neighbors are having a barbecue. Oh, Jamie Kirkland's there. Bring him over to ask him any questions about dinosaurs. But all you know, kids like that, some of you might have been kids like that.
Yeah.
You can do it. I'm the state paleontologist of Utah. When first grade, I was telling people I was going to be a paleontologist, and I am a paleontologist.
Yeah.
And I just, I had my little detour. I lived on the ocean into oceanography, marine biology, but it was a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I learned things that have been applied to my science.
Yeah.
Certainly wasn't a waste of time. But basically, I've been moving in this direction for a long time. I worked on marine systems in grad school because I figured I want to feed a family someday. And back then, there were like 2 dinosaur jobs, or a dinosaur job every 2 years. I mean, there was no jobs working on dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
It was certainly not a career path that you wanted to head straight to.
Right.
Until Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
And that did open up a lot of positions. Now, in some ways, there's too many. We have huge taxonomic groups that have no expertise left in the United States, which is sad. But, working on that, I used to go up to the Museum of Comparative Zoology at Harvard, sit there, look at they had a Plateosaurus back then. I think they had a Triceratops head. Mm-hmm. And the Kronosaurus from, Australia.
Yeah.
Sit in front of that Kronosaurus, say, one of these days. And I still have never made it to Australia. But that was such an inspirational piece. And later in my career, I worked with Ferris Jenkins, after we found those early Jurassic mammals.
Sure.
And, worked with Ferris, the director, the chairman of the program in biology at Harvard. And, if you took comparative anatomy and you were going to be a doctor out of Harvard for many, many years, you took his comparative anatomy course, his gross anatomy course, and a brilliant lecturer and great guy, entertaining guy. And he's like, well, why did you ever ask to meet the paleontologist? It's like, well, I lived on the South Shore, and you were Harvard. I mean, I was looking at your museum, hanging out, but as a kid growing up there, the ivory tower across the river, MIT, and these were the castles on the hill to a science geek like me.
Right.
And to even think I could ask to meet the paleontologist was just not in my mindset or my family's mindset back then. And if I had met Farish and he saw some hope for me, who knows if he would have or not, my whole career path would have changed. I'd probably be, if I had gone into paleo, I would have been an anatomist. No question, he was an anatomist. I ended up going to the New Mexico School of Mines, largely because I knew geology was a pathway into paleo. And we had a really bad winter. So instead of going to Idaho or Colorado School of Mines, ROTC was required at the Colorado School of Mines. So I didn't. That's during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
So I decided to go to Socorro in New Mexico. And that's when I got to go on my first dinosaur digs in the San Juan Basin in 73. And got more and met the first Utah state paleontologist, never knowing I would someday have his job 30 years later. It was, distracting. They thought paleo was not really science, Jim. It was more of an engineering school.
That attitude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you can, yeah. Ethan said he's on his way up. Yeah.
Down the hill?
Yeah. He texted me a few minutes ago. He says he's on his way up.
Okay,
so
yeah. He's never been in here.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Run around a little bit.
Pretty
cool.
Impressive place.
Yeah. Did you find anything good down there?
Yeah, I found some bones sticking out of the hills, but
Nice.
Yeah, this place is pretty amazing. It should be a national monument.
Yeah.
A paleo park where research is fundamentally part of it.
National fossil beds.
Yep.
Yeah.
National fossil beds.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, discreet.
Yeah.
Mitt Romney, you're a lame duck. This is your chance to show them how a national park system should be created.
There you go.
Through Congress.
Uh-huh.
I know others would sign on it if you did that.
Yeah.
And just say, look, let's do something. Let's show a different way to develop something like this. But John Day is a perfect model.
Yeah. Think how much that would, help out the state of Utah.
Oh,
too.
the
How much it
rural
would help the
communities in this region?
Yeah.
The
Huge
Museum
economic
of
boom.
San Rafael, John Wesley Powell Museum of Green River. Of course, the science hub would be the Prehistoric Museum of Price, Utah State University. These would all be, tied into these local communities.
Yeah.
We'd set up interpretation. We probably would pave the road out to this viewpoint.
Sure.
But then from here, have trails that people could walk down.
Yeah.
With some interpretation of what's going on and say, no, you don't pick it up.
Yeah.
Badlands can have problems. People trying to pick things up.
For sure.
But, this stuff, the American people deserve to know about this.
Yeah.
This stuff.
Absolutely.
And, the one's so smoky, this is one of my favorite views in our state.
Yeah.
And people don't know about it. And, of course, you go above Yellow Cat, looking out across Professor Valley LaSalle's.
Oh, man.
It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, and people know about that, but this is, equally spectacular, and it's unknown,
And you go off the rim here, and you drop it into Capitol Reef.
Yeah.
There's be a new north entrance into Capitol Reef National Park.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's certainly, from I-70, it'd be a much shorter route in, actually.
Yeah.
And well worth developing as a park. Not like, no, we're not making it a highway. We're making it as a
protecting it
interpretive route with lower speed limits. So
yeah,
you look at what you're seeing as you drive in. But you've got the Ferron sandstone cliffs going across here. Biggest delta exposed on the surface of the planet.
Like the Nile
Oil
River
company
delta,
geologists come from all over the world to study this cross-section of this giant, over 100-mile cross delta that the model fits best, the Nile Delta.
Yeah.
It's a wave-dominated delta. There's coal beds in it, modeling how coal is distributed.
Yeah.
The Book Cliffs is a cross-section of like the Atlantic coast or Gulf Coast for 100 miles.
Yeah.
Oil company people come from around the world to study that. It's like there's a lot to learn from the land. Some people say, oh, I don't like that, don't like this, but, it's like this planet's got a lot to teach us about the history of the planet and what happens to this planet.
Yeah.
I'm starting to really think asteroid impacts are like, a driving force of evolution, not just extinction, but promoting things coming through. These paleogeographic changes, these big kickoff points that we see. A lot of this we didn't have really good data for. When John Ostrom was writing his Cloverleaf, read that paper where he's trying to figure out where the Cloverleaf fits into the scheme of things.
Yeah.
He was bouncing all over the place because there was just no framework for him to hook it to.
I'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah, look, read those early things where he's talking about, what is the Cloverleaf? And where does it fit in? Does it tie to the wheel? He didn't know the ages. And that, 40 years ago? 50? I guess it's
early 70s?
No, 69. 70.
Oh, that's in his Deinonychus monograph?
1970 is when he published this Cloverleaf book.
Okay.
And it's 1970, but where does this fit?
Yeah.
And, you say, oh, we would have known that stuff. It's 100 years after the Bone Wars. Huge things were like, what's going on?
Well, shoot, we should probably wrap this up. And Niffler, I will tell Karen that we'll miss her. Yeah. Yeah.
Come down and say goodbye. You can come down and join us.
Yeah. Well, we're taking Karen to her transport point pretty soon. Almost
the
immediately
train
after
station
this.
in Green River. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's right there. Stop and get her a burrito for the road or something.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you again for being on stream and everything. It's been awesome.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. But yeah. And I think it's about time to wrap this up because we want to make sure that we're not late in getting Karen.
Yeah, and we really wanted to give folks a chance to see this.
Yeah.
Because
let me pick up the camera again and walk you around a little bit.
Because we're going to be pushing this, particularly as I retire, so I won't get in trouble. But pushing this concept for probably the rest of my lifetime.
Yeah.
But we don't want to put a fence, a paleo park.
Mustn't touch it, Badlands here. Pretty extraordinary. And if it weren't such a smoky, forest fire day, you'd be able to see even further.
Over 100 taxa of animals are known from this basin right
Yeah.
here that are known nowhere else in the world.
That's pretty incredible. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is like discovering a continent. New plants, new woods,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
new clams.
Pretty extraordinary.
New mammals, new lizards, new frogs.
Shoot. Well, on that
All
note,
new.
I think it's time to wrap this up. So let's see if I can find somebody to raid here real quick. See who else is doing some science on Twitch right now, if we can help them out. And, yeah. Let's take a look-see here.
Prevent forest fires.
All right. House live stream, California burps. Let's see. You know, let's go ahead and see what Hitch is up to here, maybe. Yeah, let's do that.
I've gotten some sunscreen in my eyes, so I look like Popeye.
Squinting.
Squinting, yeah.
Yeah. No, let's cancel that because that's subscriber only or something. See, should we do Geo Jim? Let's raid Geo Jim. Talk to a different Jim.
I know, isn't this incredible?
All right. Good stuff. Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in today. Thank you for your viewership, for your questions, for your enthusiasm, for your financial support. As always, it's the only reason I can be out here doing this, so thank you for that. And with any luck, we'll be streaming again from the quarry tomorrow, digging up some dinosaurs and rocks that are about 45 million years older than these ones, at the beginning of the Cretaceous period, instead of the dawn of the Upper Cretaceous like we have here. Anyway, it's going to be good. Thank you, everybody. And, yeah, let's go ahead and raid into Geo Jim. I'll see you there. Bye-bye. Okay.